Our Kyle Clark moderated the debate at the University of Denver. And Kyle, strong words used to describe Victor Marx tonight.
Victor Marx's opponent, State Senator Barb Kirkmeyer and State Rep Scott Bottoms, called Marx a con man, a liar, and a fraud. They predicted disaster for other Republicans on the ballot if Marx is the nominee for governor. And they challenged the self-described high-risk missionary over his false claims that he had rescued more than 45,000 women and children overseas on more than 100 rescue missions. And they raised questions about his boasts of violence. Mr. Bottoms, you have described Mr. Marx as a con man. That's a pretty serious charge. Why don't you take 1 minute to explain why, and then Mr. Marx will have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, I stand by that. I also said he was corrupt, and I also said he lies, and he lied to me personally quite a few times. And so I stand by that. I can't put somebody like that any more than I can put a Democrat into the governor's seat. He conned my church. I'm not okay with that, and I'm going to stand against that 100%.
How specifically did he con your church?
He came and told me that he rescued, the term he used was rescued, not gave teddy bears to, but he rescued 45,000 people in over 100 situations, 30 countries. And that was a lie.
Mr. Bottoms, thank you. Mr. Marx, your response.
You're mean. You know, this is the same rhetoric as someone who's desperate, who's already lost. And the things that he says, I can just say this: accusations without evidence is nothing more than gossip or a lie.
But the reason I have said that I will not support Mr. Marx is because, one, I mean, he is unqualified, but that's not really the reason. It's because he's unfit. By his own words, he has said he's unfit. He talks about homicidal and suicidal tendencies. Makes me a little worried about, being in rooms with him, that quite frankly. He's a fraud. He makes up these tall tales, these tall stories, and I just don't believe them. And even when you have asked him these questions directly, he just doesn't answer them.
Marx, who has described his two opponents as quote-unquote inconsequential, said tonight that they're just sore losers. And he said that any voters with questions about his big claims should turn to his promotional materials from his decades of missionary work overseas. When it came to the policy issues and challenges facing Colorado, not a lot of distance between these three conservative Republicans. However, they do differ greatly in their approach to talking about policy, with State Senator Kirkmeyer delving into the details based on her decades of governing experience in Colorado, State Representative Bottoms peppering his policy with off-the-wall claims that he refuses to support with evidence, and Victor Marx repeatedly relying on his folksy charm rather than any kind of policy details.
Kyle, you and Marshall asked some real pointed questions tonight. It was a substantive debate. I'm wondering if you think it moved the needle any for voters, Republican voters.
It depends on what the Republican Party wants, right? They have three different flavors of Republican politics today, right? You have a traditional conservative in Barb Kirkmeyer with a lot of governing experience. You've got a MAGA-type conservative in Scott Bottoms. And then you've got Victor Marx, who offers charm and personality and platitudes and not a whole lot of policy. Three flavors Republican primary voters can choose.
There was clear separation tonight. That doesn't always happen on a debate. I'm thinking on Thursday night, that's going to be a very different take. You're not going to see that kind of separation. You have a lot of separation in this, on the Republican side.
Yeah, I'll say this, right? There's certainly a lot of people inside and outside of Democratic politics who don't like the policy choices of Democratic Senator Michael Bennet and his primary rival, Attorney General Phil Weiser. There are not as many people who say those guys don't know a lick about policy, or they say bat guano things without any evidence, right? So it is going to be a different conversation on Thursday, but two different governing approaches in Phil Weiser and Michael Bennet. We'll explore that Thursday night here at DU, again, 6 p.m. on 9 News.
It'll be fun to watch. This one was fascinating. All right, thanks, Kyle.